of like, God, like, I know I'm supposed to be happy and grateful about life here, but it's looking real grim. And I don't know how to not look at it like it's real grim. That life can feel like a cruel joke. So we're here involuntarily. We can't get too caught up and invested in this life on earth because we have treasures in heaven. But we can't be too heaven bound that we're no good here on earth and not bring anyone to the Lord. Our loved ones die, and I don't see how there'll be memory in heaven. So once they're gone, they're gone. And then we die. We have no idea what that's like or when that is. What? And I didn't think it would lead to where it led to. Man, what if it's not so bad when I die? So I want to share something I shared with her. I helped her to see, like, yeah, she got it, and her time is done here. Here is the power. It's right here. It's in the knowing. And I guess I'd say I first got saved. Right thing is, with the correct way is, so I'm just gonna skip over this conflict, skip over this tension, and get straight to the right thing. And it doesn't work that way. And so I'm gonna read one last thing, and then I'll let you guys go. So now I'm having another moment like that, like the first piece I read to you. But now it starts with like another question, and it's kind of one of the touchy subjects for me, because it's been something that I've grappled with fearing it for some time, which, I mean, I'm human, so I'm sure we all, not all, but most of us do to an extent, but it's about death. And I didn't think it would lead to where it led to, but I'll tell you all that after. Okay, so here it is. It says, I had an almost moment of relief from the internal turmoil and torment of fear, ultimately the fear of death. And I guess it went like this. What if when I die, it's like, wow, I was afraid this whole time for nothing? I just pictured the possibility of death being a relief, a place of peace, a blessing almost. I felt my spirit being remembered and someone welcoming me with a warm smile and voice saying, see, you truly didn't have to fear. Now I'm starting to feel hope. So I had to figure this out. What if this is true? What if I'm really allowing my joy, my peace of mind, my well-being and quality of life to be stolen over fear of something that's inevitable, all for it to ultimately be not a torturous place of transition? What sold me for a moment was the thought that we as humans get most things wrong. We see death as a negative, tragic, something to fear and avoid for as long as possible. And most of how we live our life, if we're honest, our principles, our values, they're quite backwards from the truth, from the way of God. So what if death was one of those things that we're getting backwards? Thinking of all of this, I could feel myself getting free. I pictured a more joyful me, a person at peace, lighter, motivated to learn and explore, and literally just live. But then, of course, the doubt followed, the questions followed, feeling as if this would be too good to be true. I'm not allowed to be not afraid. I'm not allowed to be at peace and actually live. If death is not an issue, then why would Jesus ask for his cup to pass? Well, what Jesus endured was more than death. It was torture beforehand, and then the selfless act of him giving up life. But still, wouldn't he have a clue of what was ahead since he was God and man? And it just didn't seem as if death was nothing to worry about. So then, of course, my thoughts and questions get a little deeper. Was death meant to be punishment, or was life here meant to be punishment since it has to end? This was a question I've had for some time. In Genesis, if the fall never happened, were humans ever going to die? If you eat of this fruit of this tree, you shall surely die. So that would mean if they never ate, they would have never died, right? And I think it would be good to note that at the time, I was currently navigating through a perspective that I don't necessarily enjoy, which is that life can feel like a cruel joke. So we're here involuntarily. We can't get too caught up and invested in this life on earth because we have treasures in heaven. But we can't be too heaven bound that we're no good here on earth and not bring anyone to the Lord. Our loved ones die, and I don't see how there'll be memory in heaven. So once they're gone, they're gone. And then we die. We have no idea what that's like or when that is. What? But I want to keep that whole thought in mind. And on top of that, we're not supposed to be scared. Nice. So I didn't want to stay in that perspective. So I've been trying to walk through it. That being said, the next question I had was, what if we're concerned about the wrong death? There has to be more than one type of death if by eating the fruit we die. But if Jesus is the remedy that has conquered death, but we're all still subject to a physical death, what death did he conquer? So clearly it would be the one we should actually be worried about. Death of the spirit, the soul, where the actual life dwells and is rooted in. And that can be found in Ephesians 2, 4-7. So as I was writing that, that's where I began to feel the resolve. This is why we can say, oh, death, where is your sting? Because physical death, it don't hit the same if I know my soul and spirit is fine and has been in the right possession. Perhaps physical death is just the outer layer, the vessel shedding, so the true living can begin. If that's the case, I don't think that should be feared, but certainly more prepared for, more talked about even. I want this topic to not be taboo, but I also want it to not be so spiritualized, like being preached at. I want to understand this as much as possible about the life I'm living and about the life I'm awaiting to live. Based on Ephesians 2, 4-7, our spirit, the real life, was dead in sin. Even this shows that there can be an appearance of life, with the physical body being alive, but our spirit being dead. So because we did not know God and accept him as Savior, so then accepting him and what he's done for us through his blood makes us, our spirit, alive. Yeah. And then I just have a couple of other questions after that, but that's basically salvation. And I didn't realize that at all until I read it to her. And she said, you just described the gospel, basically. That's it, all in a nutshell, without a script. No one forced that. You got to that organically. I got to that through me hearing, man, what if it's not so bad when I die? And not in that, way I've hit a different turn, but like, what if I'm really afraid of this and I'm not living my life and it's not what I think it is? And I want to pinpoint that, and I want to pinpoint the fact that I was working through that uncomfortable perspective of life being a cruel joke. Now, the Emani without, did I even tell y'all my name is Emani? Whatever. The Emani without the spiritual intervention, the trauma-informed spiritual intervention counseling, would have never asked that question to God. I would have never had the dialogue of like, God, like, I know I'm supposed to be happy and grateful about life here, but it's looking real grim. And I don't know how to not look at it like it's real grim. And that's what the counseling does. It helps you feel safe enough to ask those questions. It helps you feel safe enough to be honest with where you actually are. Like, we're not out here pretending no more. We cannot do that. And there's so much freedom and liberty there. Like, that's where it is. God couldn't really, and I've heard this before, but it's like now I'm actually starting to understand it. It's like God could not really, for real, start healing when I'm like pretending like to be. It's like, you're pretending. You don't know, but I don't know necessarily that I'm pretending. I'm just thinking I'm doing the right thing. By saying, oh, this is some tension that I feel. I'm not supposed to feel it. So I know what the right thing is, what the correct way is. So I'm just going to skip over this conflict, skip over this tension, and get straight to the right thing. And it doesn't work that way. Trauma-informed spiritual intervention helps you work through every bit of the tension that you feel, every bit of the conflict, to help you dissect, untangle, detangle, however you want to say it, the beliefs, to figure out what's really going on so that there can be true alignment. And I'm forever grateful. So, Conscious, thank you dearly.